I never imagined I'd be standing outside my own vacation home, staring at a newly installed security gate and a glaring no trespassing sign, both put there by my parents. Let me back up. This story really started a year ago, though the truth is I should have seen it coming. I'm Emma. I grew up in what I thought was a typical middle-class family. My dad, a high school teacher, and my mom, the owner of a small bookstore, worked hard to keep us comfortable. We lived in a modest house, drove used cars, and took camping trips instead of extravagant vacations. But there was always this simmering dissatisfaction, especially from my mom. Whenever we passed the lakefront mansions, she'd sigh wistfully. Imagine living in one of those, she'd say. A view of the water, dinner parties on the deck. Dad would mutter about shallow people and new money. But I'd catch him staring too. My grandmother, Rose, was different. She lived simply in her cozy cottage, spending her days gardening, reading, and volunteering. Money's just a tool, Emma, she'd tell me during our Sunday teas. It's not the key to happiness. Her wisdom became my anchor as I grew older. My parents had a bad habit of living beyond their means. Loans for renovations, cars they couldn't afford, all to keep up appearances. Mom would ask me not to mention their new purchases to Grandma, but she always knew. Your mother's chasing rainbows, she said once. True wealth isn't about what you own, it's about what you build. When I got into state university on a partial scholarship, Grandma was thrilled. My parents, not so much. State? Mom sneered. Jennifer's daughter got into Princeton. That night, their argument about money echoed through the house. The next day, Grandma called me over. Sitting in her favorite armchair, she handed me a thick envelope. I've been investing for decades, she said, showing me documents for a trust worth $800,000. This is for you, Emma. Use it wisely. And don't tell your parents, they wouldn't understand. I promised her I'd honor her wishes. Through college, early jobs, and the start of my career, I lived modestly, letting the trust grow. Grandma passed during my senior year, and her lessons stayed with me. My parents, meanwhile, spiraled. The bookstore barely scraped by, and Dad's salary wasn't enough for their lifestyle. Arguments about money became routine, but nothing prepared me for the conversation last summer. Over Sunday dinner, Mom gushed about their friends' new vacation homes. The Hendersons' place has a private dock and a guest house, she sighed. Then she turned to me, eyes alight with a familiar look. Emma, sweetie, you're doing so well. And that inheritance, it's just sitting there, isn't it? I'm investing it, I said carefully. But imagine what we could do with it, she exclaimed. There's this gorgeous lake house, 4 bedrooms, private beach. The asking price is a steal. Dad chimed in. It could be a family home. Something we all enjoy. Your grandmother would want that, right? Despite my instincts, I let them wear me down. They promised to handle the maintenance and taxes, insisting it would bring the family together. Against my better judgment, I agreed. The trust covered the entire $800,000 price, and the house was titled in all our names, for tax purposes. For a while, it felt worth it. I helped decorate, planted flowers on the deck, and even felt a fleeting sense of belonging. But cracks appeared quickly. During their first dinner party, Mom dismissed me. Emma, dear, this is an event for our social circle. Why don't you visit another time? Over the next few months, I was always unwelcome. There were guests. They needed privacy, or they were settling in. Then came the gate, the sign, and finally, a text. Emma, we've decided it's best if you give us space to enjoy the vacation home. We'll let you know when it's a good time to visit. Standing in front of that gate, something inside me broke. Grandma's voice echoed in my mind. Don't let anyone pressure you into spending it foolishly. I pulled out my phone and called my lawyer. Patricia Chen's office looked exactly as I remembered from the days we settled Grandma Rose's estate. Modern, minimalist, and somehow managing to feel both welcoming and intimidating. Patricia hadn't changed either, sharp as ever in her tailored suit, her gray streaked hair pulled back into an unyielding bun. She scanned the documents I'd brought, her eyes narrowing as she flipped through the pages. Let me get this straight, she said, her tone precise. You used your entire inheritance to buy a lake house. But your parents' names are on the deed as well. I nodded, the weight of my mistake pressing down on me. They said it was just to simplify the process. That we'd all share it. I trailed off, realizing how naive I must sound. Patricia's expression stayed neutral, but the steady drumming of her fingers on the desk gave her away. "Emma," she said finally, swiveling her monitor toward me. I pulled the property tax records. "Take a look." I leaned forward, squinting at the screen. My breath caught. My name wasn't there. The property was listed solely under David and Marie Mitchell. "That's not possible," I whispered. "I was there when we signed the papers. My name was on them." Patricia nodded grimly. I reviewed the documents filed with the county recorder. "The deed that was officially recorded only has your parents' names. The papers you signed." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Were never submitted." The room seemed to close in around me. How could this happen? Unfortunately, it's not uncommon. If someone knows how to manipulate the process, it's easy to swap documents after closing. It's fraud, plain and simple, but it's shockingly common in cases involving family trust. The word trust hit like a punch to the gut. I trusted them, with my inheritance, with Grandma Rose's legacy, and they betrayed me in the most profound way. "There's more," Patricia said, pulling up another file. "Your parents took out a $200,000 home equity line of credit against the property." My stomach turned. "What can we do?" Patricia leaned back, her sharp eyes gleaming with determination. "We fight back. I've already drafted paperwork for a civil suit. We'll file for an emergency injunction to block them from taking out more loans, then pursue legal action to restore your name on the deed and recover damages. This is a strong case, Emma. Fraud this blatant is rare." I hesitated, guilt creeping in. "But they're my parents." Patricia's voice softened, but her resolve remained firm. "Emma, your grandmother set up that trust for you. She wanted you to have a secure future. What would she say if she saw this?" I already knew the answer. I could practically hear Grandma Rose's voice. "Stand your ground, Emma. Don't let anyone take advantage of your kindness." When I left Patricia's office, I felt shaky but resolute. I decided to give my parents one last chance to explain. I called my mom first, straight to voicemail. Then my dad, same result. Finally, I sent them both a text. "We need to talk about the lake house. I know about the deed and the loan. Please call me." Hours passed with no response. Then, around dinner, my phone buzzed with a message from Mom. "I don't know what you're talking about. The lake house is ours. We earned it. Stop causing drama." My hands trembled as I read her words. Earned it. All they'd done was criticize me, manipulate me, and exploit my inheritance. Then I saw the social media posts. Photos of a party at their lake house, captioned, "So blessed to have our dream vacation home. Making memories with dear friends in our private paradise." The comments stung even more. "You deserve this. Hard work pays off. Beautiful home. So happy for you. Living the dream." I forwarded the post to Patricia. Her reply was swift. "This is useful. Don't respond. Let them dig themselves deeper." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of legal filings and revelations. Patricia secured an injunction almost immediately, halting any further loans. My parents' reaction was explosive. Mom called first, shouting about betrayal. "How could you do this to us, after everything we've sacrificed for you?" Dad was subtler, his tone dripping with guilt. "Princess," he said, using a nickname I hadn't heard in years. "Let's fix this as a family. No me for lawyers." I didn't falter. "You mean like you fixed the deed? Like you stole my inheritance?" "That's not fair," he stammered. "We did what was best for the family." "No," I said firmly. "You did what was best for yourselves. Now you'll face the consequences." The evidence Patricia gathered was damning. Statements from the real estate agent, emails proving my ownership intent, and records exposing their extravagant spending. They used the equity line for parties, a boat, luxury furniture, and even a membership at an exclusive lake club that barred co-owners. But the final blow came when Mom posted a picture of her and Dad on the lake house deck, champagne glasses in hand, with the caption, "Sometimes you have to protect your peace and cut out negativity, even family. Some people just don't understand class. #bless #lake house." I sent the post to Patricia, who replied, "This seals it. The judge will love this." That night, Mom texted me, "Drop this lawsuit and we might consider letting you visit. Last chance to be part of this family." I stared at the message, thinking about trust, love, and what family truly meant. Then I typed back 3 words, "See you in court." The courtroom was much smaller than I'd imagined. In my mind, I pictured a grand hall with towering ceilings and ornate wood panels, like in the movies. Instead, it was plain and formal, with wooden benches and fluorescent lights that buzzed faintly overhead. Across the room sat my parents, looking like they were dressed for one of their lake house parties. Mom wore the expensive dress she'd posted about on social media last week, and Dad had on his sharpest suit. Neither of them would meet my eyes. Their lawyer, James Wilson, was exactly what you'd expect: gray suit, gray hair, gray demeanor. He tried to intimidate Patricia during pre-trial meetings, touting his decades of experience. Patricia, with her predator's smile, had simply said, "Wonderful. Let's see what 40 years can learn today." Judge Helen Martinez, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, began by reviewing the evidence. I studied her face as she sifted through the documents. The original purchase agreement with my name on it, the fraudulent deed my parents filed, the bank statements showing where my inheritance had gone, and most damning, the social media posts. Those posts, Mom had stopped sharing updates once Patricia submitted them as evidence, but it was too late. Every boast about their sanctuary, every extravagant purchase, every party, all of it was now part of the official record. "Mrs. Mitchell," Judge Martinez said, fixing my mother with a steely gaze, "can you explain why you filed a deed excluding your daughter when she provided the entire purchase price for the property?" Mom stood, smoothing her dress. "Your Honor, we were only trying to protect our family's interests. Emma is young and impulsive. We were worried she might sell the property or make poor choices." "Poor choices," the judge echoed. "Like using a $200,000 equity line of credit to buy boats and furniture?" Mom sat down abruptly. Dad tried to recover. "Your Honor, everything we did was for our family's legacy. We only wanted to create." "Mr. Mitchell," the judge interrupted, "are you familiar with the legal definition of fraud?" The color drained from his face. Patricia didn't even need to present our case in full. The evidence spoke for itself. The judge lingered on one social media post in particular, the one about cutting out negative influences and understanding class. "So," Judge Martinez said, her tone sharp, "you used your daughter's inheritance to buy a property, fraudulently removed her name from the deed, took out loans against it, spent the money on luxuries, and then banned her from visiting while boasting about it online. Is that an accurate summary?" The silence was deafening. James Wilson cleared his throat. "Your Honor, my clients acknowledged some errors in judgment, but—" "Errors in judgment," Patricia stood, her voice razor-sharp. "They committed fraud. They stole their daughter's inheritance, violated her trust, and flaunted it. This isn't poor judgment, it's criminal behavior." The judge nodded. "I agree. Miss Mitchell's petition to correct the deed is granted. I'm also referring this matter to the district attorney's office for potential criminal charges." Mom let out a small, strangled cry. Dad dropped his head into his hands. "Furthermore," Judge Martinez continued, "the property deed will be transferred solely to Emma Mitchell. The home equity loan will remain the responsibility of David and Marie Mitchell. You have 48 hours to vacate the premises." It was over. In the hallway, Mom tried to approach me. "Emma, sweetie, we can fix this. We're family." "No," I said, cutting her off. "Family doesn't steal. Grandma Rose taught me what family means, and this isn't it." Her sweet tone vanished. "Your grandmother always played favorites. If she'd just given that money to me, she knew exactly what you'd do with it," I snapped. "That's why she protected me." Dad stepped forward. "Princess, don't." I held up a hand. "You have 48 hours to get your things out of my house. Anything left behind will be donated." I walked away, Patricia at my side. Behind us, Mom's cries sounded hollow, like just another act. The next weekend, I drove up to the lake house. My lake house, for the first time in months. The security gate was gone, along with the no trespassing sign. Inside, my parents' things were cleared out, but they left a mess. Empty wine bottles, scuffed floors, water rings on furniture. Standing on the deck, overlooking the lake, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. Sadness for the parents I'd wished I had. Relief that this chapter was finally over. And something else. Peace. I spent the day cleaning, rearranging furniture, and opening windows to let in fresh air. In a drawer, I found one of Mom's designer scarves. I donated it, along with everything else they'd left behind. That evening, I sat on the deck with a cup of tea, scrolling through old photos. One of Grandma Rose and me caught my eye. We were laughing in her garden, though I couldn't remember why. She would have loved this place, not for its luxury, but for its serenity. The next day, I contacted a local charity that supports families with children battling cancer. They could use the house when I wasn't there, giving those families a chance to make joyful memories in tough times. Mom must have found out. She sent me a furious text. "How dare you let strangers use our lake house?" I blocked her number without replying. She was right about one thing. This wasn't what the house was meant for. It was meant for something better. A year later, the house is thriving as a haven for families in need. I rarely think of my parents now. Instead, I think about the little girl who hugged me last weekend, calling it a happy house. Looking out over the lake, I raised my tea in a silent toast to Grandma Rose. "True wealth isn't about what you own," I whispered. "It's about what you build. And I'm building something beautiful."